What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo. Today, we have some big news surrounding the New York Giants. Evan Neal is back. He's ready to return, and he should be playing this upcoming Sunday versus the Washington Commanders. Now, we all know this is a crucial matchup for the New York Giants. This is a really big game. In my opinion, a must-win game. Dropping two in a row the last 2 weeks, one against Dallas, divisional opponent. Well, the Giants have 4 divisional opponent games left to play. 2 against Washington, 2 against Philly. They need to start picking up some divisional wins. Right now, 0-2 against the division. Not so good. And if the season ended today, every single team in the NFC East would be in the playoffs, including the Washington Commanders, who are really starting to pick up some steam. They're playing good football right now. They're 7-5, and they're hoping to upset the Giants on Sunday. In fact, I actually think the Giants are listed as the underdogs going into this game because of how well Washington has played in recent weeks. But we know that the Giants love to play as underdogs. When they've done that this year, they've gotten away with some really awesome wins. And this week, we have some reinforcements on the way. We've talked about this all week on the show. If you're subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe if you're not. But we've talked about it. The Giants have a lot of players coming back from injuries. They're finally starting to get healthy. That big break between the Thursday game and this upcoming Sunday's game has allowed the Giants to rest up, practice, get back in the groove of things, and hopefully move into Sunday towards a W. Evan Neal returning to the lineup is going to be huge for the Giants, though. Now, that is a big deal because the Giants' offensive line has been decimated by injuries, and they've been playing really poorly. They've been starting swing tackles at right tackle. They've been starting the backups at all these different positions. It's been kind of atrocious, and Daniel Jones hasn't had a lot of time in the pocket. Saquon Barkley hasn't had the same rushing lanes that he had in the beginning weeks of the season. It's been a little bit rough. The Giants' offensive line really struggling in recent weeks, but they're getting a lot of reinforcements back, not only on the defense, not only in the playmakers, but on the offensive line in particular. Now, the Week 13 projected offensive line looks like this. Left tackle Andrew Thomas, of course, coming off of a shaky game, but I'm not worried. He had an illness, was playing with the flu or something. He's a beast. We all know that. Left guard, Nick Gates is actually projected to slide over and be the starting left guard, with John Feliciano returning to the lineup as the starting center this upcoming Sunday. Week 13, huge game. Now we get our starting center back. Nick Gates moving to left guard. We'll see how that goes. Right guard going to continue to be held down by Mark Lewinsky, and right tackle Evan Neal returning to the lineup. So Thomas, Gates, Feliciano, Lewinsky, and Neal. Huge, massive improvement over what the Giants were trotting out onto the field versus Dallas in Week 12. So Week 13, we should get some much better offensive line play here. But let's talk about Evan Neal a little bit more carefully. Let's really dive into him and the season that he was having prior to that injury. Now, Evan Neal suffered that injury in Week 7 against Jacksonville on the road, had an MCL tear, partial tear, some sort of MCL injury, kept him sidelined for the last several weeks, weeks 8 through 12. But he's finally back and he's ready to go. In fact, today he said he's, quote, good to go on Sunday. He said he didn't feel anything wrong in his knee, was a full participant in practice today. So all good signs. He's trending in the right direction. He is absolutely trending towards playing this upcoming Sunday. Again, the Giants finally starting to get healthy. They got the toughest stretch of their season is upcoming. They got the toughest strength of schedule in the NFL to close out the year. And the Giants, again, trying to fight for their first playoff berth since 2016, need to pick up some clutch wins here, but they can't do that unless they're healthy. And thank God they're finally starting to get healthy. Evan Neal going to be a huge boost to the lineup for more than one reason. First of all, continuity. Mark Lewinsky was playing really poorly in recent weeks with that revolving door to his right shoulder at the right tackle position. Hopefully, Mark Lewinsky can start to pick it up now that he has a formidable right tackle playing to his right alongside him and pick up the pace here because, again, Lewinsky been struggling with those other guys playing right tackle. It feels like he's been overcompensating, like he's been trying to do too much, help this right tackle out when he has his own assignment to do. So it's really been an issue on the right side of the Giants offensive line, forcing them to just rely on Andrew Thomas all game long. But having some more talent on this line will allow everyone to just do their job better, and that's going to help Lewinsky. But let's talk about what Evan Neal himself brings to this team. Now, he doesn't only bring great run blocking that we know he had in college, but if you actually take a look at the stats, Evan Neal really started to come together as a pass protector during the final 4 weeks of the season that he played so far. So he's played in 7 games this year, and if you take a look at the stats through the first 3 games of the year, Evan Neal allowed 4 sacks, including a really rough 3-sack performance against Dallas in that first matchup in Week 3. So a really tough performance there, but take a look at his last 4 games. So his first 3 games, 4 sacks, but then his next 4 games, 1 sack and only 6 pressures in those games. I know 6 pressures in 4 games is kind of a lot, but compare that to the 5 pressures in 3 games that he gave up the weeks prior. So Evan Neal really exited from the lineup at the wrong time. He suffered an injury when he was finally starting to hit his stride. He was playing better football, clearly developing, becoming a good right tackle. And unfortunately, the injury got him. The injury has gotten a lot. The injury bug has gotten a lot of New York Giants players this year. We know that. Unfortunately, Wan'Dale Robinson done for the year. Sterling Shepard done for the year. Xavier McKinney during the bye week breaks his hand. He's going to be out for extended period of time. Adoree Jackson on a punt. He's out. And we've been missing Evan Neal from the lineup for weeks. But finally, he's coming back. Again, much better from a pass protection standpoint during those final 4 games that he played in versus the first 3 that he played in. And that's really what you expect with a rookie offensive tackle, right? We know this with Andrew Thomas. Giants fans should never stress watching Evan Neal in his first season because we saw what a talent Andrew Thomas has become despite having very similar struggles and very similar flaws in his game to what Evan Neal has right now. Andrew Thomas, that is. Andrew Thomas, again, the rookie season, first half of the year, really poor. Second half, he started to pick it up. Year 2, played through some injuries, but really started to look better. Year 3, now he's one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL. So don't give up on Evan Neal just because he had a rough first 4 games of the season, right? So let's take a look at Evan Neal, what he's done so far, and especially as a run blocker. Now, there are some really interesting stats when you take a look at it. Now, the Giants didn't just lose Evan Neal in that Week 7 matchup. That wasn't the only blow that they took to their run blocking game. They also lost Daniel Bellinger, who was quickly growing into one of the best run blocking tight ends in football through his rookie season. I mean, Daniel Bellinger is phenomenal, and he provides a lot. He is a game changer in the New York Giants offense because not only is he the best receiving tight end that the New York Giants possess, but he's also by far their best run blocking tight end and really was blocking at a much higher performance level than most of the tight ends in the NFL. So you look at that Week 7 game, and that's really where things started to change for the Giants in the rushing game because with Daniel Bellinger and Evan Neal playing alongside each other in the offense, the Giants had a phenomenal rushing attack. But once those guys exited the lineup, it's been some shaky games from Saquon Barkley. And a lot of that is due to the fact that he can't even run to his right side. But he's about to get that ability back. So I'm expecting a big game out of Saquon this upcoming Sunday. The Giants need Saquon to put together a huge performance here, have another superstar game, because they got to beat Washington on Sunday. It's a must win. But now the odds of that happening, the odds of Saquon Barkley going out there and putting together a good performance, they just increase exponentially with Evan Neal and hopefully Daniel Bellinger as well returning to the lineup in Week 13 against the Washington Commanders. So let's go over those stats, right? Because I'm kind of alluding to it. Saquon Barkley played better. Let's talk about it. Weeks 1 through 7 with Daniel Bellinger and Evan Neal in the lineup, Saquon Barkley totaled 726 rushing yards, 103.7 yards per game. Now listen to this drop off. Over the past 4 weeks, weeks 8 through 12, only 266 rushing yards, 66.5 yards per game. So a decrease of nearly 40 yards per game in Saquon Barkley's performance level without his best tight end and best right tackle in the lineup. So you want to talk about what an impact Evan Neal was having and Daniel Bellinger was having. Look no further than the rushing game and the yardage that Saquon Barkley was averaging before and after the Giants suffered those 2 really costly injuries. Now, again, Evan Neal had his fair share of struggles to start the year out. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Like, he sucked against Dallas. That was a bad performance. He said that in his post-game presser. He was very openly frustrated and upset with himself. He had a really bad game there. And honestly, he had a few bad games to start off the season. But he's a rookie, and he's growing. There's going to be growing pains for a right tackle that's immediately stepping into the NFL as a starter. And so those growing pains were hitting him, but he, again, was starting to hit his stride. He was playing better football to close out those few games before his injury. And it's really unfortunate that he was knocked out of the lineup. Maybe that might hurt his stride. Maybe he'll have to, kind of readjust when he enters the lineup. There could be some struggles, is what I'm trying to say. I think that Evan Neal might struggle on Sunday getting back into the swing of things, but he's healthy. He said that he feels good. He's good to go. Full participant in practice. No issues with his knee. I believe that Evan Neal is going to be a better player post-injury than he was pre-injury because he's also had a lot of time to sit there, think about things, learn some stuff from the tape. He's just had time to prepare for his return. That's all it was. So, yeah, he might be a little rusty to start out, but I do believe that post-injury, Evan Neal, for the next portion of the season, to close out the year, is going to be a better player because he's had a lot of time to sit, recover, rest, reflect, learn from the tape. And I think he's going to go out there and kick some serious ass against Washington on Sunday versus Philly the next week. Washington again, I think it's going to be a really good close to the year for Evan Neal. And again, this is exactly what the Giants needed because their offense at the beginning of the season had a clear and obvious vision. Keep the ball clean and out of harm's way, run the football with Saquon freaking Barkley. They were killing it. They started off the year with an amazing record, as we all know, 6-1 at one point this year. But again, losing 3 of their last 4 games, kind of tough. 7-4 record now, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that their running game just has not been the same since it was in Week 7 against Jacksonville. Once those 2 players that I mentioned, Evan Neal and Daniel Bellinger, left the lineup, things changed for the New York Giants, and hopefully they're going to revert back to that normalcy that we became accustomed to through the first 7 weeks of the season once Neal and Bellinger returned to the lineup. So Evan Neal, again, was really starting to put it together as a pass protector through those final few games before he got injured, but now returning to the lineup, we know the impact that he makes in the running game, and we know that he is going to be an upgrade over whoever we had out there through the past few weeks. No disrespect to Tyree Phillips. He gave it the old college try. He tried his best. He was forced into an ugly situation, had to do what he had to do. And honestly, he wasn't that bad. Like, he wasn't a good offensive tackle for the Giants, but we didn't expect much from Tyree Phillips on such short notice anyway. So Evan Neal re-entering the lineup. This is exactly what the Giants need. It's going to be huge for the team. It's going to be huge for him as well, just to develop over these last few games. Face some really good defenses. I mean, Washington has a great defensive line. Philly has a phenomenal defensive line. And of course, we know that we're playing 4 games against those 2 opponents to close out the year. So Evan Neal just going to gain a bunch of experience to close out the year. And hopefully the Giants can push their way into the postseason and have Evan Neal playing his best football of the year once we get to that point. So again, really love the fact that Evan Neal is returning to the lineup. Great news on him today. Let me know what you think about this down in the comment section below. I know probably all of you are really hyped to watch Evan Neal return to the lineup. This hopefully means we're going to get some really exciting Saquon Barkley action. Hopefully he returns to form and closes out the year as an MVP candidate. Definitely my pick for comeback player of the year. Saquon has been unbelievable this year, but Evan Neal is going to return to the lineup and hopefully just make that extra impact that allows Saquon to go out there and dominate and allows Daniel Jones to have just a little bit more time in the pocket to find some of those backup practice squad receivers downfield that he's been throwing to all year long. Because honestly, man, just give Daniel Jones a little bit more time. He's going to find the receivers. He's playing good football right now, or at least he has been for the majority of the season, in my opinion. Yeah, a couple picks here and there the past few weeks. Hasn't been the best. That game against Dallas was okay, had his fair share of struggles, but you take a look at the film throughout the majority of the season, Daniel Jones was playing better when Evan Neal and Daniel Bellinger were in the lineup, and honestly, he's had a good year. He just needs a little bit more time in the pocket, and the Giants' offensive coaching staff, Dable and Kafka, need more talent on the offensive line in order to run the offense properly. There are running plays that were in the playbook that are no longer in the playbook because they're going to the right side and they don't trust those guys. There are passing plays that the Giants clearly want to be running, but they can't because Daniel Jones doesn't have the time in the pocket. So they just have to keep putting him on bootlegs and play action passes, right? So just to give him that little buffer and cushion. But Evan Neal returning to the lineup, Daniel Bellinger as well, that allows the Giants to open up their offense more, revert back to some of those normal, true passing sets, and also take some of those rushing plays to the right side with Saquon Barkley and let him feast. But yeah, that pretty much covers this, right? That it's very exciting. Rookie right tackle Evan Neal returning to the lineup, 7th overall pick. This is huge for the Giants, guys, and this is going to be a massive impact heading into Sunday versus Washington. Again, a must-win game. So comment down below and let me know what you think about Evan Neal and hopefully Daniel Bellinger returning to the lineup this week. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode of Fireside Giants and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. We'll catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.